speaker comes from a company with interests from television production, broadcasting, international distribution and programming, publishing to feature films, and the list goes on. And they're considered among the top 2 media companies in the Spanish-speaking world. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Emilio Azcárraga, CEO of Grupo Televisa.
First, hello and good morning. As you have just seen, my family has worked at the intersection of broadcasting content and advertising since 1930. In today's terms, we have been aggregators for over 80 years, producing one basic product: emotions. All of these speeches start with something like, "It is a brave new world," and this world is a brave new world. As new as when Shakespeare first used the expression in 1611, or when it was used by Huxley for his book in 1932. So what is new? As someone recently said, this brave new world is not round, and it is not even flat. It is rectangular. And what is that rectangle? That rectangle is the television screen. As we all know, television today is not what it was not even 5 years ago. Video content, thousands of portals, radio stations, magazines, and newspapers are moving into video streaming and broadcasting. I believe that television, the rectangular world, is and will continue to be the best place for consumers to view video content. This is especially true for professional content that we all produce, and by the way, what consumers choose to consume. We are all aware that changes in consumption present us in the media and advertising industry with the unique challenges and opportunities. Let me outline 3 of those opportunities today in an attempt to help us navigate this new world together. First, the unprecedented opportunities emerging our brave new and most importantly, rectangular world. Second, emotion as the unifying force to connect with all our audiences. some ideas that will allow us to thrive and profit. What creates a new world and new opportunities? Colliding forces. Think about the internet. No one dreamed about, no one really invented it. It was a collision of independent sets of events. This included technology, business models, consumer behavior, and media platforms. It is happening again today. Forces are colliding in media and advertising. Technology, the broadband explosion, platforms, smartphones, PCs, iPads, and let's not forget the best television screens ever. Business models, advertising a la carte, fees and subscriptions. Consumer behavior, on demand and in control. That is the hand we have been dealt, and definitely that is the hand we have to play with. What are the markers that tell us that this is a brave new world? And I say markers because as someone whose family has been in the industry for over 80 years, I realize that it is too far early to really understand that this has been a trend, that we can talk about trends. Yet there are certainly markers about collisions in media and advertising that are creating seismic shifts. This brave new world is increasingly creative, on-demand, multi-platform, time-shifted and time-split, and definitely targeted. I know this may sound like a mouthful of media talk, but to me, when seen together, it definitely shows how complex our world has become. Let us take another look at these markers. In preparing this discussion, I was really amazed at what has been happening in our industry over the last few years. This world is increasingly creative. Most of us came from a world that had a camera and that camera had rolls of film with 12 exposures. And then we had to take it to develop, and it took weeks to develop those rolls, but not anymore. We have heard a number of our speakers talk about the explosion of social media now in these days. Let me put this into perspective. Today, the equivalent of 1 billion of those rolls of films are uploaded each month to Facebook. We could fill the Empire State Building with those rolls of film. And video, what has happened in video is in only 3 seconds, and counting 1, 2, 3 seconds, an hour worth of video is uploaded to YouTube. But let's remember that this explosion of user-generated content on platforms like YouTube and Facebook complements and definitely complements but does not replace professional content. It is professional content, definitely, that consumers crave, and it is professional content that will definitely cut through the content clutter. It is a world that's increasingly on demand. It is a world, and a survey that is just out of the oven shows that in the United States, the US, almost half of all consumers turn to new media platforms to view their favorite television shows. That is half of all the media view. TV everywhere is no longer just the same. The world is multi-platform. Think of your own homes, televisions, Blu-rays, DVRs, Blackberries, iPhones, iPads, Game Boys, game consoles, desktops, laptops, notebooks. And definitely, I can go on and on with this. I think that's a long list. The average consumer has 25 electronic devices at home. And what is most impressive is that at the age which our kids start to handle those platforms, those devices, is only 7 years old. And of course, as we all know, this world is time-shifted and definitely split. Let me emphasize that despite all of the shifting and splitting, even in countries like the United States, where DVR use is the heaviest, over 80% of the population still watch all the ads. This figure rises to 90% in developing countries like Mexico. Many heavy DVR users tell us that they will still watch the ads if these ads have an emotional tie to television characters or the television shows that they are watching. But let's not fool ourselves. It's getting harder than ever to get consumers' attention. Guess what? In addition to those who skip the ads, 2/3 of the young audiences, consumers are also surfing the internet while they're watching television. But you don't need to listen to the statistics. Just watch your kids and you'll see that in action. And by the way, they are probably texting their friends and downloading music at the same time. Now is the time to triple our efforts to create and extend branded and professional content in multiple formats, so advertisers get the engagement they need across all the platforms. Fortunately, this world is also more targeted than ever before. By next year, half of all media spent in the US will be on targeted media. Things like cable, television, IPTV, internet, and definitely mobile. And this, ladies and gentlemen, damas y caballeros, is very good news. Why? Because we all produce content for targeted media. Yes, I know I said that these are just markers, but I am willing to bet that these behavioral shifts in media are definitely here to stay. And anyone willing to take a bet, you know where to reach me. That's my Philippines, by the way. On top of these behavioral shifts, our thinking must include two very important considerations: bandwidth segmentation and the borderless world. Surprisingly enough, the speed at which these shifts take place is determined by the ability of bandwidth. So they are more widespread in the so-called developed world, like Europe and the US and parts of Asia. But let's not forget that 80% of the world's population lives in the so-called developing world, where bandwidth definitely is expensive and hard to get. This has created a bandwidth divide. What does this mean for us? Different challenges and definitely different opportunities and different responsibilities. In the developed world, the challenge to deliver more creative content and advertising to consumers with almost unlimited choices. The opportunity to do so across more media than ever before. The responsibility to produce content and advertising that enriches and enlightens, as it definitely entertains. In the developing world, the challenge of adapting products and services for wide degrees of access to media content, the opportunity to shape consumer behavior today, and the responsibility to enable access, connectivity, and communication to previously disconnected communities. The world is borderless, at the same time that the bandwidth divide is growing. Content, advertising, and emotions are going global. Economists, politicians, marketers, street demonstrators, everyone has been talking for and against globalization for the last 25 years, since I was a kid. However, until now, our world was multi-local rather than global. Media is rapidly becoming an interconnected mesh. It used to be that ideas and content were mostly sent from the center to the rest of the world. Now, content producers and brands need to work more to create content with truly global appeal for a new type of consumer, a consumer without borders. Consider this: nearly 300 global marketers employ an ad agency across 5 or more countries. I think we can call that global. So where is the money in all of this? The money comes from the tremendous opportunities that this brave new world offers. New challenges, of course, but where others see challenges, I see at Grupo Televisa opportunities. Let me briefly discuss 4 of them. The first one, prime content. What we create and monetize is even more prime in a long tail world. Second, more eyeballs than ever before. Third, targeting equals more money. And fourth, television is more relevant and more of an opportunity than ever before. Why is prime content very prime in the long tail world? Because consumers, like investors, in times of crisis, will definitely fly to quality. A third of them say that they would pay $5 per month to access prime content on demand, and almost a quarter of those say that they would pay up to $20 for that prime content. What are they watching? What do they want? Definitely professional content. Let me tell you something that just amazed me. The US is the market where more platform devices and distractions occur every day. It is also where people talk about the decline of television. But guess what? Turns out that the total television consumption is up roughly 20% since 1990. From 4 hours per day per person to nearly 5 hours per day per person. Total video viewership, counting internet and mobile, is obviously way more up than ever before. No wonder that this year's programs like the Oscars, the Grammys, and the Super Bowl had record TV audiences. In our case, and when I say our, this means Televisa's case, we had a telenovela called Hasta que el dinero nos separe that ended a week ago and broke a 10-year audience record on broadcast television, an average of more than 26 rating points for 40 weeks, for 200 days. Last year, the final chapter of Mañana es para siempre, another telenovela, it had a broadcast rating of 37 points that was streamed after it aired to 3 million viewers, around 40% of all household computers connect to the internet in Mexico. Great content continues to bring great audiences. Yet it is undeniable that changing video viewership has made our lives in media and advertising way more complicated. Now we have to think about monetizing not only linear television, but video on demand, DVRs and DVDs, internet television and video on mobile. A challenge, of course, but also an opportunity if and only if we innovate. Let's talk about innovation, specifically innovation information. The change in viewership and the explosion of platforms means that we know more than ever before about when and how and when our consumers use media and advertising. We now can bring together what consumers intend to buy with definitely targeted advertising, customized to where, when, and what, and how they want to buy those products. How? A powerful combination of 3 things. Identity, who they are. Behavior, what they are doing, which shows they watch, which websites they surf, and the ads on which they really engage. Context, which platform they are on, what time of day, and whether they are at home or whether they are moving. And there is real money here for all of us. Recent experience has shown that targeting using identity, behavior, and context can generate up to 20 times increased money and advertising effectiveness compared to non-targeted ads. That is 20 times. This type of targeting becomes more important in a world where the consumer experiences multiple screens. Our content and advertising proposals need to reflect that. And that, my friends, is definitely real money. To some extent, we are all doing this. Here is an example. In Televisa, in 2009, we joined Coca-Cola to create a platform in which our live television premiere live TV matches could be watched with exclusive footage online on a dedicated site. In making this deal, we were embracing a multi-screen strategy and the need that advertisers had for a long-lasting branded content initiatives. Lastly, let's remember, it's all coming back to television. I started out today stating that our brave new world is not round and it's not flat, it is rectangular. Let me tell you why I definitely believe this. Step back 8 or 10 years. New media platforms were coming out, were exploding. Everybody was predicting the death of television. But ladies and gentlemen, let me paraphrase by stating clearly Mark Twain, that the rumors of the death of television have definitely been greatly exaggerated. Television is once again on the up. Why? First and foremost, we have reinvented the value proposition of television as a device. Big screens, flat screens, HD video, 3D, surround sound, internet connectivity, and consumer control through on-demand. The television experience is definitely better than ever. And second, and most importantly, television is a better, more versatile way to see video for the consumers. It has proven that it can not only coexist, but also complement new platforms like viewers want to vote for their favorite contestants on reality shows with their mobiles or cross-platform. Cross-platform promotions that drive consumers from television shows to the internet and back again. Simply put, television is more of an opportunity for all of us than ever before. What is the key to unlocking that opportunity? I started talking to you today also about emotions, and it is emotions that is the key to success. I learned from my grandfather that we live in a world of emotions. And what is an emotion? It is anything that makes you laugh, anything that makes you cry, that makes a connection that you feel in your soul. I learned that the need for emotion is eternal. My father and grandfather, I learned that from them, and definitely I see it every day in what we do in Grupo Televisa. As I said, in a world of a platform overkill, the ratings of our telenovelas have not changed in 10 years. They are still at the top, more than ever before. We keep generating interest around the world because they connect to people. They form an emotional bond with audiences in any language, in any land. Emotional connection with an audience even stopped a war. The last episode of a telenovela that we produced called Esmeralda caused a truce, if only for a short time, and now that is definitely a beautiful story that we have. Let me make two things very clear. First, more emotion means definitely more eyeballs and more money for all of us. And second, professional media companies like us know definitely best how to use emotion to connect with consumers. What I have said so far is meaningless with a concrete call to action. Here is what I propose to all of you, and let's concentrate on 4 powerful actions so that we can all thrive and prosper. Create relevant advertisement. Serve consumer without borders. Go global or definitely go home. Position aggregators as the marketplace. Strengthen our 360-degree vision. First action is relevant advertising. We need to create more advertising that not only is advertising, but it is also content. And it is able to make deep emotional connections with all the consumers. This means marrying emotion to beat time shifting, skipping, and splitting. Let me show you how we do this at Grupo Televisa. In practical terms, we need to persevere in product placement. That is part of the story. And branded entertainment, that is the story. We also need a step change in how we use customer information to meet their needs and desires. And let's be clear, it's all good for us. And this is very good for the consumers. Consumers like to consume, and human beings like to experience emotions. What's better than the combination of both things? Second, serve our consumers without borders. 20 years ago, only American content was traveling around the world. And now, we have global content going global. From sitcoms to telenovelas, from movies to webisodes, today, content, consumer habits, and brands are more global than ever before. We have to build content that is more global and marry this advertising that can go global and serve a consumer without borders. We need to keep mixing content with brands. We've done it before, but we need to do it more strategically and with far more awareness than ever before. As I said, go global or go home, and we need to go together. We need to go global. Third, position aggregators as a marketplace. We are all experts in building growing brands for our clients, and we also know that brand building requires exposure, and it requires an audience, and it requires also a marketplace. At Televisa, we have the immense fortune to have El Canal de las Estrellas, the channel of the stars. That channel, it is our biggest brand and Mexico's most watched television channel for over 50 years. And by the way, but it is much more, it is most powerful aggregator in the Spanish-speaking world, in broadcast television as well as paid television and the internet. Good brands that converge in our channel becomes definitely great. I believe that the secret is to understand those aggregators and to understand that new marketplace. It is where brands, content, and consumers meet. Because without the backbone of a powerful, well-positioned aggregator, great brands and great copies, just as great contents, will definitely fail. Consumers need signposts they can trust, and definitely those aggregators are those signposts. Fourth and last, strengthen our 360-degree vision. More platforms are creating more eyeballs. But we are still in the infancy of linking these platforms together and creating stories that are truly transmedia. When we have managed to do it correctly, but results have been truly explosive. I am going to let pictures speak louder than words. A great broadcast, sure, but especially if you're as a big football fan as I am. But what about the opportunity it helped capture? Let me share some statistics about the benefit it drove. And do not worry, these are the last numbers that I'm going to share with you. Historically, a match between America and Guadalajara, that are the premier soccer teams, generates around 25 rating points. This year, it also generated those 25, but additionally, we showed the match in 3D in movie theaters and online with access to 5 different cameras. The online experience generated over 1.2 million visits during the match, with an average time spent of 43 minutes per visit. We kept our television viewership and added eyeballs that concentrated in the most desirable target, the digital consumer. That's what I called an opportunity. I said, bring all the challenges that this multi-platform world has to offer. With content that connects like this, it definitely is very well in time. In closing, let me just say that since the dawn of time, humans have craved entertainment and information, stories that move and inspire us, and we're not about to stop now. Especially when every day a new and exciting way to experience stories bursts into the scene. And today, like always, people are going to choose the good over the mediocre, and definitely the excellent over the good. So believe me when I say that this brave new world is in the hands of the professional storyteller. Great advertisers and great content producers are professional storytellers, each in their own right. If we join forces, success is sure to follow. I started talking to you today about my family history and the tremendous changes in our industry over the last 80 years. As I stand here today, I call on all of us to reimagine the opportunities we can capture together. It is my sincere hope and not my belief that one of my sons will someday stand here and say with pride that on this day and in this place a defining moment of Europe. That is that this time we have rededicated ourselves to collaborating creatively to build a prosperous future. A future in which emotion is the force that unifies all of us. I thank everybody for being here in the name of the entire Grupo Televisa family. Thank you very much.